Recording in progress.
Together to address the gaps that have been identified.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much. Sarah, I was wondering whether you'd take the second question and tie it to the point of how we can prevent new digital divides, ensuring particularly that women and marginalized groups are involved in the shaping of AI design and governance.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I thought I will answer that, but I thought I could just add on a small contribution to what she has said.
30 seconds to do that.
Yes, yeah, just I think a small thing. It's everything we do in universities is funded, and the money doesn't come from universities. Universities make a case for why the particular kind of research has to be done. In the morning, we had, I think, from the person representing the guild, Professor somebody anyway, that we need to think of what value we are adding to societies when we are making these cases. And of course, in Uganda, if I'm to answer the second question, Makerere is trying very hard to come up with an AI policy to come and regulate. Of course, this requires a lot of time to see what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. Some of this has been with support from MasterCard funding, but also some has been with support from the Research Innovation Fund of the government, that the government gives to Uganda, to Makerere. And how did this come up? This came up with the university making a case for the necessity of research. We are definitely not a very rich country, but even with our state of economics, Makerere University, under the leadership of Professor Nawangwe, was able to make to the state the need to finance research at Makerere University as a strategy for national transformation, because our strategic plan is to be thought leaders. So what I'm trying to say is that even in the poorest of circumstances, once we make the case for the need to fund some of the things we want funded, surely we shall find funding either within the country or outside the country, or from external sources. So on the issue of the digital divide, yes, of course, each time you talk about IT, the first thing we are told, we have always been used to the issue of the digital divide, especially from the gender perspective, where we are told women don't have as much access to digital appliances or to computer or to literacy, computer literacy, internet usage like men. The other digital divide we have seen is about rural-urban, and I think for Uganda statistics, the population is largely rural, but digital penetration there is only 9%. So most of what we are having is largely urban-based, which is speaking to around 13% of the population. Of course, there's another version of digital divide globally, where you're talking about the global north vis-a-vis the global south, where a lot of the creation of the digital appliances and the digital knowledge is coming from the global north. And all we do in the global south is to use, and while we are getting accustomed to that particular divide and that particular, device and that particular software, it keeps changing. And of course, each of those comes with financial implications. So the digital divide is both in terms of content, which is the reason we are here discussing AI. It is also in terms of capabilities and appliances, but it is also in terms of the financial implication that comes with that. So when you add AI in the mix, you're likely to exacerbate and worsen the divide, as we have always known. And what have been some of the causes of the digital divide? A lot of it, of course, has come from infrastructural challenges. Everyone on this panel has talked about the lack of appliance, the lack of money, the cost of this, lack of computer, electricity to power the devices, and that becomes a problem. So some of the challenges around that are infrastructural, and we cannot overemphasize that. That is very known. We shall not talk about digital literacy in the absence of digital appliances. And that's why strategies such as a laptop per child are strategies worth celebrating. Some of the issues within the digital divide that we have seen played out a lot on this conference is the issue of content. Whose knowledge counts? Is African knowledge included in what we are talking about? Or is it other kinds of knowledges being privileged and universalized as if it is neutral human knowledge, but in the end, actually excluding local knowledges. And also when local knowledge is added on, how does it come on board? Is it appropriated for capitalistic profit, or is it used to add value? So some of the things we need to do is fix the infrastructural challenges, and for the others is to pay attention to matters of inclusivity, which normally don't come very cheap. And I think our colleague at the extreme end made that very clear when she was talking about things like what are the laws that enable, because we have to be intentional. If women's knowledge is not the kind of knowledge that is being included, because women, for example, are not considered to be knowers, the social system, getting that knowledge included. And when it is included, how do we attribute it to the women? How do we attribute it to the marginalized categories, whether they are indigenous populations or not? Because if we don't do that, we shall just continue the extraction. We are intentional about that, and initially that may have to come with laws that regulate how that knowledge is acquired and appropriated. And of course, what everyone else has emphasized here is the ecosystem. I think we've seen the ecosystem throughout these 3 days, because all of these things are connected. The academia, the industry, the policy and regulatory framework, the economics, the politics, the governance. We have to be intentional at bringing those on board. So universities have to engage into a lot of conversation. And of course, data protection, also this will require more laws. But we have to have the marginalized and excluded categories in the center. We have to think with them in mind. If we don't think with them in mind and ask what works for them, we shall end up thinking for them, and maybe what we develop may not work for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have 3 minutes to bring this to an end. And so very quickly, David, I would like you to, in 1 minute, to speak to the issue of how industry-academia partnerships can drive applied AI research, which will then strengthen Africa's innovation ecosystem while we keep our knowledge sovereignty. We've listened to some inspiring stories here at this conference.
Okay.
How can we leverage on such partnerships?
Thank you, Nana. Industry academia partnership is very, very critical. Even in Sarah's submission, she mentioned this tripartite government, industry, academia. Number one, I believe is very critical in the fact that we just in this conference emphasize the point that we need to co-create AI solution that will fit our environment. In IS, we talk about contextualization, context matter. And that's why we have speakers coming to talk about even language changes and so forth and so forth. So industry is very much needed to get this implemented. So the co-creation of AI solutions. Industry, and that in that sense, if you do that, then we are talking about sovereignty. Then we become leaders of our solution and not depending on the off-the-shelf softwares that are coming from foreign countries. Then lastly, I will say that as academia, what is our mandate? Our key mandate is to produce human resources for our society. And at the end of the day, it becomes so important that you get to know what industry is expecting from us. We shape our and train our students to be able to meet industry's need. And so it is also crucial, industry, academia, leadership. That's what I will say on that.
Thank you very much, and thank you for keeping it brief. I will give you the last word, Yemisi, but before that, let me ask Francis, if he's still there, that very specifically, what one bold step can African universities take in the next 2 years to ensure that ARUA's research and innovation agenda moves from promise to practice in an AI era?
Yeah, no, I think the important thing is we probably will have to make sure that we share some of our expertise in this specific area, the way that I articulated earlier, more holistically amongst the ARUA universities, so that we don't duplicate what's there, and also try to see whether we can come up with a common framework that we can start to make sure that the institution starts to implement that. Secondly, I think it's important that we put a lot of premium on partnerships outside of the university, and because that is where good research is conducted by the institutions, but good research needs solid funding. Good research need co-creation, and for me, that partnership is immensely crucial. So, to what extent do we create that relationship from collaboration with our partners to co-creation? And that includes the marginalized part of the partnerships as well. And then thirdly, Nana, there are good examples already. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about it from a perspective that this is what comes out of the institution, what comes collaborative out of the continent, and see whether we can use those examples as a way also to leverage confidence and leverage different thinking from other actors outside of the continent, whether they are universities, whether they are other funding agencies, whether they are donors, whether they are other governments. And that would be, for me, the three things that I think as ARUA we could start to do to make it more practical. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Collaboration and partnerships, and they are good examples that we can emulate. And so, Oluyemisi, I'll give you the final word, and it's the ethics question. AI promises efficiency, but it also consumes massive energy and data resources. So in your view, how can African universities and policymakers ensure that our AI strategies are sustainable environmentally, economically, and socially, rather than replicating the extractive models that we have suffered from in the past?
Thank you very much. I believe that lawyers talk a lot, but I'm going to be very brief.
Thank you.
First of all, I'm going to say that one of the things that we can do about the ethics, well, before I go into that, one of the things that we can do as an institution, instead of this issue of funding that we all have, I guess we'll all have, is for us to be able to pull our resources together as our work, number one. Then number two, like in our university, we have a faculty for multidisciplinary studies in which all faculties can pull resources together instead of tearing ourselves apart. We have AI in law, we have AI in other faculties. We have a faculty that we can all put in our resources and we can all work together as one. So this issue about the ethics of AI, we can all come together, put heads together. I know that ethics is one, but from different angles, we can just put it into one basket and we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so colleagues, I guess that it's clear to all of us. We need to work together, create the necessary ecosystems, pull together resources, partner with industry. We need to also create the frameworks where there is no law, there is no offense. And lastly, I would like to say that we need to be intentional because Africa's AI transformation will not happen by chance. It will happen by design. Thank you, my panel members, for such interesting discussion. And thank you also, the audience, for being so cooperative. Join me to appreciate the panel members.
Thank you, Chair.
Another round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. We're going to have a photo moment with the DVCs and Vice Chancellors. Thank you so much. Thank you also, the Chair, Professor Nana Abba, for moderating the session. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have our closing remarks. But before we do, allow me to remind you, we have an evaluation that is ongoing. Please scan the QR codes. Can it be shared on the screen? The QR code for an evaluation, that is the one. And also you have been sent emails for feedback from the organizing committee. And please, you're requested as well to fill in that email, the most recent one that has been shared on your respective emails. Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, allow me to invite the Secretary General of the African Research Universities Alliance, Professor John Gyapong, to give us his closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite the following to come and join us here as we're going in for our closing ceremony and evaluation. Professor John Gyapong, Secretary General of ARUA. A round of applause. Then we shall have Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, the Vice Chancellor of Makerere University. Shall also have Professor Sizwe Mabizela, the Chair, ARUA Board, and also Vice Chancellor, Rhodes University. You're welcome, professors. Now, this moment, let us have the closing remarks from Professor John Gyapong.
So good evening, everybody, and thank you all for staying the course till this late 3 days of intensive discussions. This is just an opportunity from the Secretariat and ARUA in general to say a big thank you to everybody for all the role you've all played in getting us this far. We were not sure how it was going to turn out, as I indicated earlier, but we brought the goods to the market, whether it was thin or fat, you had to consume it. But on a more serious note, I want to say a couple of thank yous. Our keynote speakers, the first place. We want to thank you all for doing an excellent job for us. Can we give them an applause? It wasn't easy assembling the right kind of people. We had to do lots of consultations. And at the end of the day, I believe it turned out well, but your evaluation will let us know whether it will actually turn out well. So keynote speakers, all of you, thank you so much. Thank you and thank you. The next group of people that I have to say thank you to are the panel members. We had to create and imagine who would best fit which panel. And we made those decisions. I want to hope and believe that the panels that we selected were appropriate. If not, let us know again in the evaluation. So can we say a big thank you to all the panel members? Then to get this conference going was a lot of work by many people who were very dedicated and showed a lot of commitment. And I want to give them a photo opportunity with our host and the chairman of the ARUA board. So if we can have the ARUA secretariat come up, they have worked around the clock from everybody knows about the two Emmanuels. I have to send them messages sometimes at midnight when I wake up. I can't sleep and I'm having dreams about how the conference is going to go. I send them messages. So if the ARUA secretariat can all come up here and have a photo opportunity. I believe I'm a member of the secretariat, so. I do not remember. Then we had to establish a steering committee made up of members of ARUA universities. 23 universities. We had to go to the DVCs to select a group of people to help us plan this program. And at this time, if any member of the steering committee is here, I want them to come up for a photo opportunity with the board. Members of the steering committee here. You are the only one. Only one left. Okay. The rest are gone, but I think you deserve the photo opportunity with the steering with your bosses. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So that was the steering committee. But you know, you can have the people all over the place from all the 23 universities. But to get the work done, where the epidemiologists will say whether they're up, and we had to be with them through, I don't know how many Zoom meetings we had, several WhatsApp messages to Professor Amala and his team. So the local organizing committee, can you please come up for We thank you so much. We thank you so much. But you know, the local organizing committee, when we have the meetings, so well, that is okay, but we need to consult the boss. So at this moment, we want to thank the boss himself. The Vice Chancellor. You know, there were several things. Professor Wamala would say, well, I don't know how to pay for this. I said, go and talk to your boss. And so I had to go to his office and say, thank you this afternoon. So thank you once again. I mean, they were so gracious. They even made a birthday cake for ARUA. Yeah. I don't know how many of you tasted it. So this is the 10th anniversary birthday cake that they made for us, which we ate at the cocktail. So we thank you so much for all the resources, the time, the energy, the people, the number of boots that were on the ground to get this conference going. So even as we leave here, many people have been asking, what next? The board of ARUA decided that we should be going to Rhodes University. So the 6th biennial conference will happen at Rhodes University in the Eastern Cape. And the theme that we have, that the board has approved, is building resilient futures through knowledge and innovation. So begin to think about it and imagine what Rhodes University looks like. And I just want you to spare me 3 minutes to see what Rhodes University looks like. Hopefully you'll be enticed to make arrangements to come to Rhodes in 2 years' time. And the dates, please mark them in your calendar, 27th to 29th of October. So this gives you a glimpse of what this university looks like, but you need to experience it in person. There is another video which talks about the Eastern Cape in a brief period, but I'll allow the Vice Chancellor Makerere to give his closing remarks, and then after the chair of the board, who happens to be the Vice Chancellor of Rhodes, have also spoken, then we'll show you that last video. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. This morning, some of the participants were telling me about their experience last night at Ndere. So I must warn my colleagues from Nigeria that, you know, the creatives are also here and we are coming for your money. But I'm delighted that the conference has been, I think, a resounding success. The presentations that I have seen, I think it has been a job well done by your team, Professor Gyapong. I'm sure you are now relaxed. And I must say that when we were looking for a replacement for Ernest, we were just as worried as you were and said, where, after all these years, Ernest, who has been holding fort and moving the ARUA forward, are we going to get a fitting replacement? I must say you have not disappointed. Thank you for the wonderful job and the entire team from the Secretariat. I would like to thank all of you for having come in large numbers to Makerere University, for having very actively participated in the deliberations. We hope we have not disappointed you. I hope. I know the days have been very few and every day we are beginning at 9 sharp. I'm impressed by the timekeeping. And you are going back to the hotel every day in the evening. So I think you have not even had the opportunity to experience our border. Don't go before you experience our border. But be careful. Okay? Because border has become one of our tourist attractions. People come here just to see what border looks like and how they behave. They are really an experience. And I do hope that you'll find it necessary to come back if you have not experienced that, but also to continue the discussions about Africa's future. I always tell colleagues whenever I have the opportunity about the meeting that I attended in Beijing in 2018, which was organized by UNESCO, and which was about artificial intelligence. And we were all told, because the majority of the people in the audience were African vice chancellors, and we were told that we were asked to come to answer one question. As far as artificial intelligence was concerned, will Africa be left behind again? Seeing what has happened here,
this is my story.
Conference, I'm very confident that Africa will never be left behind again. Not only should we be left behind again, but we should take the lead. We should take the lead, and I want to thank all of you who have been very active in this. And I take this opportunity to invite you to come back to Makerere at your earliest opportunity. And as you go, we say farewell. Kwaheri.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends, on behalf of the ARUA board, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Makerere University, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, and of course to the local organizing committee, and I fully align myself with all the words of appreciation already conveyed by our Secretary General. But I should just ask Professor Wamala and his dedicated team, please do take a well-deserved bow. Well done. We also acknowledge the army of the ushers who have been incredibly helpful, and the session chairs and everyone who has played a role to make sure that this conference is as memorable as it is. We are deeply grateful to the university and to the people of Uganda for their warmth, generosity, and hospitality. Professor Nawangwe, the cultural experience at the Indirect Cultural Center was truly remarkable and will remain etched in our collective memories as a celebration of African creativity and identity. Please do convey our profound gratitude to the director and those fabulous performers. ARUA Secretariat, you have been acknowledged, and we are, I don't know, you always go above and beyond. And thank you for your service to ARUA. SG, this was your first conference, and it has gone exceedingly well. Congratulations to you. And we thank you for your leadership of this very special network. As I reflect on the proceedings of this conference, two key insights stand out for me. The first pertains to the conference theme, artificial intelligence. We must recognize the immense power and promise of AI, its capacity to transform the ways in which we live, the ways in which we learn, and the ways in which we work. Yet, even as we embrace these innovations, we must also be cautious and approach them with reflection and restraint, remembering that technology should always serve humanity and not the other way around. Our collective task is to develop and harness AI in ways that support and enhance professional expertise rather than replace it. The true goal of empowerment is to augment human creativity and wisdom, not to diminish or displace it. The second insight comes from the inspiring words of the Honorable Minister, Dr. Musenaro Masanza. The minister reminded us that we must not be weighed down by what happened before our time. The past belongs to those who came before us, but the future is ours to shape. What matters most now is how we rise to the challenges of our time, how we act with integrity, and how we collaborate, and how we work together to effect meaningful and lasting change. Future generations will not judge us by the problems we inherited, but by the solutions we created. They will remember us not what we found, but for what we built. Let us therefore move forward with a clarity of purpose and determination, knowing that the choices we make today will define the legacy of tomorrow. Indeed, unless and until the African continent takes full charge of its destiny and breaks free from the persistent chains of dependency, our aspirations for a prosperous, self-reliant, and dignified Africa will remain an elusive dream. Let us therefore commit ourselves fully to the task of building the Africa we desire and the Africa we deserve through research, innovation, collaboration, and unwavering belief in our collective potential. The time for Africa's transformation is now. On that note, of course, the SG has indicated to you that the ARUA board resolved that the 6th ARUA Biennial Conference will be organized and hosted by Rhodes University. On that note, and on behalf of the African Research Universities Alliance, I now have the honor to declare this conference officially closed. And wish you a safe trip back home. Please spare thought for our friends and colleagues from Tanzania. They were supposed to have an election. Things are not going well. There is violence, there is destruction of property. And so we don't need these things in this continent. We can hardly afford the destruction of property and just wanton destruction and risking the lives of our people. I know that this country will have their elections early next year. We wish them well. Thank you very much.
I had already said goodbye. No. I had already said goodbye, but I was told that I should come back and fulfill the promise that the minister gave to you when she came to open. She pledged that she will give each one of you half a kilo of Uganda coffee. So if you forget everything, don't forget the aroma of Uganda coffee. So I'll take this opportunity to request the chair of the local organizing committee to hand over the coffee to our chair, Secretary General, and Vice Chair, please, if you could come up. And the rest of you will pick the coffee as you go out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. A special thank you from our minister. The coffee has been delivered. We're going to have a photo moment here. Yes, with our coffee. We shall also have a general group photo of all the delegates up here. So I kindly request you to come and join us up here for a group photo. Also, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a group photo right now. Please come and join us up here. Some will be down here and others will join up here. No, take it from the corridor. And also, if you know you've been sponsored by the ARUA, Come and check with the technical team here. They have something for you. Yes, let's put on those smiles. Yes, I mean.
Kaningboleke man. Khona la ngifuna ukuya khona wena man. Hayi. Hayi man. Ububori. Yeke. Sayibona man.
This is a moment we have to smile. Let's smile and look straight to the camera.
Ngibulekeni 5,000 angizofuna nge-start mine ngama 10,000 ngifuna 8,000 amadamara eza ngamabhake aphethe phethe amabhere ngithanda ngamagazi ngibulekeni 1,000 ngibulekeni 5,000 angizofuna nge-start mine ngama 10,000 ngifuna 8,000 amadamara eza ngamabhake.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for coming. Yes, you're meeting Dr. Emmanuel. If you've been sponsored by ARUA, please come and meet Dr. Emmanuel. To all our researchers and delegates, policymakers that have been able to be around for this conference, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best and safe travels as you go back to your different countries. And those that are within, we are still with you. The team from Bafemia Aworo. The team from Bafemia Aworo, please come and meet the DVCA Makerere University. Dr. Emmanuel. Dr. Emmanuel Abe, the team is here to see you from ARUA. Yes, you're meeting Prof.